This is flirty, dirty, and bookish.
Welcome to the dark side.
Listen if you dare.
Okay, guys, so it's finally time for my personal favorite, Nightfall. So we're gonna start with the flashbacks first, which takes place 9 years before the present. The male main character in this book is Will Greyson. He finally gets his story. It's been long enough. And then the female main character is Emery Scott. You guys might remember Will talking about her. And that's why he burned down the gazebo back in Corrupt. So some key points to this book is that in the flashbacks, Will was a senior in high school, so this is the same Devil's Night timeline as Banks and Winter. And then Emery's a junior. Emery's brother is a cop, and they both live in their childhood home. Their parents have both passed away. And they live there with their grandmother, but their grandmother's sick, so she's not really all there. So it's mostly just her and her brother.
She has dementia, right?
Yeah, she has dementia, but I think she also has something else because she's also on a breathing machine and all that stuff. But the dementia is the reason she doesn't really remember anything. Yeah. And then Will is obsessed with Emery, which was a known fact before you even get to this book. But the moment you get here, you realize how obsessed he is. It's
yeah,
also,
even in Corrupt,
yeah,
Rika was why is he burning that down, the gazebo?
Yeah.
And Damon was because he's in love with the girl that built it, and she wants nothing to do with him.
Yeah, so you knew from the beginning who Will was gonna be with.
Yeah.
And then also it is very much a reverse Grumpy Sunshine situation.
Yeah.
Will is a golden retriever, and Emery is very much a black cat.
For the flashbacks, for sure.
Oh yeah, in the flashbacks, yeah.
And then in the present time, they're just both grumpy.
Yeah. But flashbacks, Will was still a happy camper.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the key players in the flashback are Emery, Will, Damon, Michael, and Kai. Winter and Rika both make brief appearances as well. You kind of realize throughout the flashbacks that Emery had her hand in almost every single thing that was going on.
Oh, everything.
Without even knowing.
No, she was there for everything.
Everything. And then her brother Martin.
Yeah.
That is the last time I will say his name, by the way. His name is Shrimp Dick. Okay. Yeah. Moving forward. So it starts off in Emery's POV. And when it starts off, we're learning that Emery is quitting her swim team, and the reason why is why I call him Shrimp Dick, because her brother beats the living shit out of her, and so she has to quit the swim team because she can't cover it up anymore. It's showing all this
stuff.
Can't
wear bathing suits.
Yeah. And she kind of just lies and says that it wouldn't be able to get her a scholarship anyway, and that's how she gets away with quitting the swim team, because she can't exactly tell her swim coach, oh, my brother abuses me, because that's the whole point of why she's quitting, is to hide it. And then we kind of learn that Emery doesn't come from money like the rest of them. She's only at this school because of her brain, but also because her brother is a cop, so he pulled some strings to get her in there. But because she's smart, Emery takes senior English, and she just happens to be in the same class as the Horseman. And thanks to Will, every single class, even if someone's sitting next to her when she gets there, they always make sure that they're sitting surrounding her. Her brother, aka Shrimp Dick, and the Horseman do not get along. I mean, her brother's a cop, so obviously not, but her brother's also just an asshole. And her brother has this hard-on for Will for some reason, which doesn't really make any sense because he doesn't know how Will feels about Emery. So
it's almost like a weird jealous thing. And
yeah.
It's fucking creepy.
Yeah, it's really weird. And Will is obsessed with Emery, but Emery seems to be the only person in the entire school who does not idolize him, but she also doesn't idolize the horsemen, like, at all. Like, she thinks they're idiots. Which
Yeah.
is kind of the first time we've been in the point of view of someone who didn't idolize the horsemen in some kind of way.
Well, I don't think Winter idolized them, to be honest.
No, but she was curious about them. But
Yeah.
it was like, Emery's just like, fuck off. Like, I don't care
Yeah,
about this
she's
at
like, you
all.
guys like look fucking stupid doing all this shit.
Yeah, exactly. And then so Emery's sitting in this English class, and Will is sitting next to her, and he like leans over, and he's like, I know I may seem like the nicest one, and you probably think I regret the shit I give you sometimes, and someday I'll wake up and reevaluate my life and its purpose, but I won't. I sleep like a baby at night. And this is one of the reasons that I love Emery. Her comebacks are always the best, and she says, you wake up every 2 hours and cry?
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. But then, like, Will can see that she's actually been crying. And he's like, don't you know that you can have anything you want? I'll hurt anyone for you. Who is it? Who do I have to hurt? So, like, he goes from making fun of her to immediately, like, into overprotective mode. Like, I will kill someone for you. Like, just tell me who hurt you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she shuts him down like she always does. And so in this class, obviously the other horsemen are there, so Damon is too, but they start this debate over this book. And in the book, they're talking about abuse and all these different things. And Will says, if she were being abused, why didn't she have the sense to not put herself back in that situation? I mean, why would she do that? So of course in Emery's head, she's like,
you don't get it.
You don't understand. You would never get it. But it's not her that debates back. It's actually Damon. And he says, abuse can feel like love. Starving people will eat anything.
Ugh.
I love that line.
Well, I like it's so sad.
It's so sad, but it's like true.
Yeah.
And it's an iconic Damon line.
Yeah.
And then Emery kind of realizes
how people didn't realize what the fuck was going on with his mom is beyond me.
Don't
he's just like
understand.
outwardly like just
he just says things because I think he thinks people would never believe him anyway.
True.
But yeah, so Emery kind of in this moment realizes that she has more in common with Damon than she's ever realized. And then later on at the end of the chapter we kind of see how horrible her brother is, and he ends up beating her for quitting the swim team even though she had to quit because he's beating her.
He's just a horrific human being.
He's horrible. And then later on, Emery is like, or she ends up running away from her brother once her brother like goes to sleep or whatever. She sneaks off and goes to the movie theater, and we find out she has this like obsession with Godzilla. And then the next day she's at school and she like opens her locker and there is a Godzilla plush toy that has been left in there, a granola bar, because so Emery's like Jewish, so she can only eat during certain hours of the day when it's, what's that called? Yom Kippur. Sorry if I didn't say that right. So she can only eat when the sun sets. So there's a granola bar tied to it, and then there's also a ticket to the senior lock-in. So someone's obviously broken into her locker and left these there, but not only that, whoever left this there saw her at the movies the night before. I don't know why we're saying someone. It was Will. It was obviously Will. So because Emery's a work-study kid, she had to stay behind after the basketball game to clean up after the game before the lock-in.
She's also in band, isn't she?
She's in band, yeah. So she was already there because of band, but then she had to stay after because of the cleanup and being a work-study kid. And then so after she's finished cleaning, she was going to leave. She wasn't planning on staying. She was, fuck this, I'm not staying for the lock-in.
She's also not a senior, so why would she
She's not
stay?
a senior, no. So you have to be invited by a senior if you're not a senior to go. And then, but she ends up getting called to her swim teacher's classroom, who's also a bio teacher, so she has to go up to like the 3rd floor or whatever. And when she gets up there, all the lights are off, no one's there, but when she goes to leave, she's been locked in on that floor. She ends up figuring out pretty fast who most likely it is, but when she looks outside, she sees that Michael is still outside. So then she kind of starts to panic. She's like, "Okay, well, maybe it's not them," until Will shows up and he's wearing his mask and he's just like staring at her and like tilting his head. And she ends up saying to him, she's like, "Is this the part where I giggle or beg? Stop it, you're scaring me. Oh no, whatever will I do? Don't be too hard on me, Daddy, but I admit, I like it when you're hard on me, so hard." And then she ends up throwing something at the window and it like shatters, hoping that it will get someone's attention.
Oh, Mr. Ghostface, don't kill
Yeah,
me.
exactly.
I want the sequel.
Yeah, that's why I love that line so much, because it just reminds me of Tatum from Scream. And then they start like breaking shit and all this stuff, and he's like tracking after her, but then she trips and almost falls into the glass, but Will catches her because God forbid he could ever see her fall, even though he's the one who put her in this situation. um, and then she removes his mask and he finally actually says something and he goes, "I was never trying to scare you. I just wanted to see something." And then Emery's like yelling at him to unlock the doors and he's like, "Why?" And she's like, "Why? Like, why are you asking me why?" He's like, "I wasn't trying to scare you, but why wasn't I?" And then Emery says, "Real monsters don't wear masks, William Greyson III. They look like everyone else." And then she starts screaming at him to let her out and says that the teachers, and then he ends up telling her there's no point, the teachers aren't going to let you walk home in this weather anyway because it's like pouring rain. So she ends up getting stuck at the lock-in, which is probably the only reason he brought her up there in the first place, so she literally could not leave and would get stuck there.
No, that literally is the reason.
Yeah, and then he doesn't even talk to her the entire lock-in. She's like sitting in a corner by herself. He tries to send someone over to like give her food, but she doesn't want to take it because it was Will who sent it over. And then when it comes time to sleep, obviously she doesn't have anything. She doesn't have a sleeping bag. She doesn't have a pillow. So Will brings her over, dead center in between all the horsemen again, gives her his sleeping bag, and then sleeps next to her. And she has like Kai at her feet, and like they're all surrounding her.
Yeah, he's right next to her. Damon's on the other side. Michael's at her head and Kai's at her feet.
Yeah, she's
goes, "Well,
literally
fuck, I'm
fully
stuck now."
surrounded. She can't go anywhere.
I would love to be in the middle of that.
Yeah, right? And then she finally asks him, because now they're like lying there in this silence, and like she's like, "Okay, fine." So she finally asked him why he did what he did upstairs, and Will says, "I was trying to see if you liked it," and that's all he said. And then he went to sleep. And Emery, the poor girl, was so confused. Like, what the fuck? What do you mean if I liked it? And then it finally switches to Will's POV, and we learn how full-blown obsessed he is with Emery. But we also learn how useless Will feels when it comes to the Horsemen, which is so sad. Like, he literally feels like they don't need him.
When I was reading it, I felt like he was the only one that didn't like have a purpose in the group. He just kind of felt like he was just there, but that's so not true.
It's not, and I feel horrible that he thinks that.
Well, okay, so think about it. So he is the glue that holds them together. But what besides that does he like contribute to show? Like,
No. That's why he feels like that.
yeah. Like Damon is the crazy one that comes up with the crazy plans. Michael is the leader and organizes everything. Kai is the strategist and like does all that kind of stuff.
Will kind of just follows their lead.
Will's just there. So I get why he feels this way, because it's not necessarily wrong, but he is the glue that holds them together.
Like he has a purpose, but his purpose isn't something that you can just see.
Yeah.
Like it's something that you wouldn't know until if he like left it, you would know.
Yeah, they would be
then
incomplete.
It would be they'd fall apart. They don't have Will. They like that's what holds them all together.
Yeah.
So this is so they're like in Will's truck and he's driving and he never gets to drive, and we find out that the passenger seat is Damon's seat if Will is driving, and Michael is forced to sit in the back,
and then Kai is the passenger
when
and Michael's driving,
which means that Michael and Will and Damon barely get to be up front, so that's why Damon always gets the passenger seat in Will's car. So they're driving and they're talking about what they're going to do on Devil's Night.
Devil.
Yeah. They're talking about what they're going to do on Devil's Night this year, and Kai suggests the Pope. So Yes,
So this is the
when,
Banks year.
Yeah, that's when Banks goes to the Pope, but it's also the same year as This Is What Black Feels Like.
Right.
But then Shrimp Dick pulls Will over, and because he hates Will the most for some reason. Will thinks it's because everyone just assumes that he's like dumb and the easiest to like target, and then he's the weakest link.
Because he comes from a good house.
Yeah, exactly. And he's not as psychotic as the others. Well,
And
that's a lie, he is, but he hides it.
But also, again, not necessarily wrong. He would be the easiest target.
True, but
that doesn't make him an easy target.
Yeah.
You're competing against Michael, Kai, and Damon. Okay, sorry that you're fourth in that lineup. I would rather be fourth than first.
Yeah. But also, like, people assume he's dumb, which is so not true.
No, he's
Will's
actually
really smart.
Probably the smartest.
Yeah.
But he's just has that happy-go-lucky attitude and everything. So
people assume he's the dumb
exactly.
jock. Yeah.
And he lets people assume that.
Because he's smart.
Yeah.
And then Shrimp Dick ends up asking Will to like step out of the truck so he can inspect it. And then Will sings the following lyrics from 99 Problems by Jay-Z. Well, my glove compartment is locked, so is the trunk in the back, and I know my rights, so you're gonna need a warrant for that. And then all the horsemen burst out laughing, and Shrimp Dick leaves.
He's probably confused because he doesn't get it because he's an idiot.
Yeah, he probably doesn't understand it at all. And then Will like threatens Emery. More like threatens to fuck her though. If the fucker doesn't stop pulling him over. And then Kai ends up telling him he was fucking like brave for saying that shit because like he is a cop.
They don't give a fuck.
No, they don't give two fucks at all. Kai is just the like logical one. Like we need to like not be so rash all the fucking time. And then they end up going to like the cemetery, and all the players are at Edward McCallahan's grave. So Edward McCallahan was this like basketball legend, and he died at 18. And they're all there because they're kind of like having this like weird like shrine ceremony to him.
Yeah, it's the basketball team, so they go there and they
like
bring them good luck for the season and shit.
Yeah. And they're all pissed off though this year because Edward McCallahan's family has just built this crypt and they want to move him from it, and they're all mad that they're gonna like disturb his peace. They also refer to him as like the first horseman. And then they mentioned something about his girlfriend also dying back then and how he did what needed to be done, but we don't know what they mean by that. And then Damon
Someone knows.
Yeah, and then Damon and Will are talking about something, and Damon just randomly goes, "You want to see my bed?" And Will says, "I'd like to make sure it's not a coffin." Facts. And then later on, Damon notices that Will's like lost in thought about Emery again.
Shocker.
And
it's just his constant state of mind.
Damon is trying to be a good friend, but like he's being a horrible friend at the same time. He's like, "You're not good enough for her. You'll never be good enough for her. Best you hear it now." And then Will's like, "A friend would help me get what I wanted. You don't want me to have what I want, though. You don't want Michael or Kai to have what they want." Which is true. He didn't want Michael with Rika. He wanted to keep Banks and Kai separated. He doesn't want Will with Emery because he
doesn't
wants
like
to keep
change.
them. Exactly. And then Damon says, "I shouldn't have everything I want either. Getting what you want risks losing what you already have, and nothing can come between us. She'd never love you like you deserve because she doesn't respect you. You're too shallow to her." And then Will ends up like leaving Damon, like, "Fuck you, dude." Tracks Emery down, but then decides to leave her alone because Damon got in his head, and he goes off to find Damon, and they have sex with girls in the catacombs. Not really important. Later on, Will and Emery are together, and Will ends up just asking her why he doesn't like her, or why she doesn't like him, and then she kind of just ignores him. And then he leaves, so then she leaves, and then later on she's walking home and she sees Trevor, who's like kind of just standing outside of that restaurant they all go to, Sticks, and he's like watching the horsemen and like glaring at them, and she ends up talking to him, and she says something because he says that like they're dumb for all the shit they do, and Emery says, that is true though, isn't it, about the risk of getting arrested? I mean, they film everything with that phone. It's pretty careless. If anyone had half a mind to, there would be no way to ignore their behavior if someone shared those videos to the right place, you know? So Emery is the fucking person who gave fucking Trevor the idea to post the boys' videos.
Yeah, I feel like she's like has done this a couple times. She opens her mouth and she really shouldn't.
Yeah, she's the catalyst for things without even knowing she is.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you would think that, like, telling one of their brothers that it would be fine. But Trevor hates his brother, so.
But she knew that though. She knew that he hated Michael.
Yeah, but hate him that much,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I'm sure she knew, to be honest.
probably she hates her brother that much. A few nights later, there's this basketball game. Emery has to go because she's on the band team. They're at an away game. The team wins. Some bitch throws a drink at Emery and soaks her. Will ends up pissing on the boyfriend of the girl that threw a drink at Emery. Like, I'm not shitting you. He's on him.
Yeah, because he's a man. He's a gentleman. And he can't hit a girl, so sorry, boyfriend, you're next.
You're gonna, but he doesn't hit him. He pees on him. He's like, if you're gonna make her embarrassed, then I'm gonna make it worse for you and
Yeah.
pee on you.
As he should.
And then they're all on the bus, like heading back, and Will ends up sitting down next to Emery, and they're like texting throughout the drive, and he's telling her, when the bus stops, get in my fucking truck. And she asks why, and then he leans over and whispers in her ear, because you're mine. So she ends up getting tricked into his truck because this girl she's trying to make friends with tells her, like, he said he'll drive me home if, like, you also get in his truck and let him drive you home. So she goes, but then the girl jumps out of the truck the moment Emery's in it, and then Emery's stuck. And
she's not really stuck. She could have just gotten out of the car.
She could have, but
she didn't really want to.
No. But Will doesn't take her home like he promised he would, and she starts freaking out. And then he drives her to is it called the Cove? Yeah, he drives her to the Cove, which is the abandoned amusement park in Punk 57, but at this point in time, it was still open and running and hadn't shut down yet. And they're like sitting outside of it, and Will asks her if she knows the story of Cold Point. And all she says is murder-suicide. So here's the story of Cold Point, which is also the story of Edward McCallahan.
And Reverie Cross.
Yes. So Emery says murder-suicide, and this is what Will tells her. Maybe. In 1954, Edward McCallahan was my age. Senior basketball star, bit of a bad boy, but only where it counted. He was good to people, he showed up for people. That season was supposed to be their greatest. They had the team, the coach, the years of training. They could anticipate each other's moves, even their thoughts. That's what years of playing together have brought them to. They were a family, more than a family. They were in perfect symbiosis. And that rarely happens. Everyone was hyped for what was coming that season. Homecoming night, a girl from Falcons Well, one of their like biggest rivals, showed up at the dance alone, wearing a pink dress of lace and tulle. No one could take their eyes off her. Feeling like a mouse in a snake pit, she kept holding her stomach like she was going to throw up. But she was pretty. He couldn't take his eyes off her. They say she came to cause trouble, that the rival team sent her to sow discord. They say she taunted the whole team, tried to get them to do things to her so she could play the victim the next day. No one knows how they knew where to find the body, or if she screamed, but she was found through the morning fog hours later, broken on the jagged rocks below. Her dead eyes stared up at the cliff above. The last thing she saw, the person who pushed her. They say the team was going to have to forfeit under all the media attention and the investigation. Some guys wouldn't be able to go to college because of it. The coach would probably have to be fired because of the scandal. All I know is a week later, Edward McCallahan left a confession on his parents' kitchen table and then followed her over the cliff. The last line of the confession said, "We want what we want." They say McCallahan sacrificed himself so the season could go on. That's what they say anyway, but the whispers tell something else. They say she was caught between two best friends, McCallahan, who was in love with her, and AP, her boyfriend.
Wonder who AP could be.
Me too. He wasn't wealthy like McCallahan, but he was clever and ambitious, not someone to be underestimated. They say she was pregnant. They say she jumped. They say Edward didn't. They say on the note on the kitchen table was a confession, but not his. So what really happened at Reverie?
Reverie, yeah.
Yeah, so what really happened to Reverie Cross and Edward McCallahan?
I mean, we will never fully
truly know,
but there are answers, sort of.
there's some answers.
Somebody's two middle names are
A and P.
yeah.
And you'll find out later. Anyway, so they end up getting in this huge fight, and Emery steals his truck and tries to leave. But then she comes back for him and goes home, and then he's like, "I'll be here to pick you up tomorrow for school." And she's like,
No
"Okay."
choice.
Yeah, no choice.
It wasn't like meet at the end of the street though.
Yeah, she's like stay here. He's like, "Fine, but I'll be back here on Monday to pick you up for school." Well, then it switches to Will's POV, and he's annoyed because Emery went to school without him on Monday. So they're at school, and he's like, Michael's complaining about being bored, and Damon's response to being bored is, "We should kill someone."
No, he doesn't say it like that. He goes, "We should kill someone."
"We should kill someone." To which Michael says, "I was thinking I need the season to start, you fucking psycho." And then Kai says, "Or maybe you need to fall for someone. I'm ready to have my guts twisted into knots." The difference between these boys.
Say what Kai said again.
He said, "Or maybe you need to fall for someone. I'm ready to have my guts twisted into knots." And then he looks at Will, kind of like hinting that Will already is. And then Damon's not impressed by either of their statements and just says blood would be better. And then later on he ends up finding Emery in the library, and she's like crying again, so he kidnaps her and takes her to the movie theater. And she's in the passenger seat, and in his head he's like, "Sorry, D, that's her seat now." So cute. And then he ends up getting her snacks. They're at this movie. They're watching the brand new Godzilla that just came out, and she's super excited. And then she says, "Do you still want to hold me?" So they end up kissing for the first time. And then the next day in the cafeteria, Emery is back to wanting nothing to do with Will. And then later she ends up working out in the school pool, and Damon corners her in the shower. Yes, she's still in the shower when he does this.
She's in a bathing suit, isn't she?
No, she's naked. She was showering. Damon doesn't care. He just walked right in. He's like, "We're gonna have a conversation now. You can't run from me because you're in the shower naked, so you're stuck here."
I mean, kind of smart.
I was literally
Like,
just
where's she
thinking,
gonna
like,
go?
true. Yeah, exactly.
She could run, but like that's more embarrassing for her.
Why are you running? Damon Torrance is after me. You're naked. Yeah, I know. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so he like ends up like grabbing a hold of her, and he's like, "Why don't you scream?" And then he's like looking at her, and she's still not screaming. He goes, "Because screaming doesn't help, does it?" And now she's naked in front of him, so he sees all the bruises she's always trying to cover up.
Yeah, so he knows what's going on.
Yeah. And then because she still doesn't say anything, he goes, "Because you get tired of being the victim, and it's easier to just let it happen, to just pretend we're in control of everything happening to us, until you can't remember ever smiling when it didn't fucking hurt." Will is like that, isn't he? And then he doesn't confirm what he means, but in Emery's head, she's thinking she knows exactly what he means. And what he's trying to say by Will is like that, isn't he? Is that Will is like a smile that doesn't hurt. Which is like...
Yeah, because they bond over their mutual infatuation with that same man.
Yeah. And then Damon ends up being like, I don't want to like see him hurt. Like, you know, if you're just like using him to like, you know, forget about it, then use me. Like, I don't care. Like, me and you, like, you just want to let some tension out, use me. Like, I'll have sex with you. You can just do it with me. Like, leave Will alone. This is saying Will's mine, and if you hurt him, fuck you. But I also understand where you're coming from, and I don't want to see you hurt either, which is odd because he never cares about women.
But he also knows that, like, if Will found out that she's getting beat shit, it's going to hurt him too. So in retrospect, he's also kind of saving Will.
So then Damon also ends up asking her, he's like, has Will seen your bruises? And she tells him no, because it's true, he hasn't seen them. And he goes, well, if you don't stay with him, because she ends up saying, I'm not going to fuck you, Damon. So he's like, okay, well, if you end up continuing this, Will, because he's not going to drop it. He's not going to let it go. If he sees those bruises, you cannot tell him what happened, and if you do, you need to be prepared for what will happen to him, because your brother's a cop, so imagine.
Yeah, he knows that Will's gonna fucking kill him.
Yeah. So like, she like now she's terrified. She was already scared to tell Will. She didn't want to get involved, nothing, but now she's terrified to tell him because she knows that Damon's right. She knows that Will lose it, and that yes, he'd do anything to protect her. He's always threatened to kill people for her. But, like, her brother's a cop. He can actually get himself in a lot of trouble if he even, like, so much as hits him. And then later on that night, Shrimp Dick ends up, like, love bombing her. And we find out that every time he, like, abuses her really badly, he gives her a book. And she kind of keeps them as trophies for, like, oh, I survived. Like, I survived another thing. I got back up again. And then later on, Will breaks into her room. And we find out that it is Evernight. So Evernight is a night when you're supposed to light a candle and put it on your bedroom windowsill. And then in the morning, if it's still lit, then that means, like, that year's, like, going to be good to you. It'll be a year of good fortune. If you wake up in the morning and the candle has been blown out, then something bad will happen to you by the next Evernight.
Or if you don't light a candle at all.
So basically, what Evernight is besides that is that every October 8th since 1955, the year after the Cold Point murder, the residents of Thunder Bay started doing the candle thing.
It's the night that she died. That the ghost of Reverie Cross will give.
So basically, if your candle was still lit by morning, you were in her favor. If not, something bad would happen to you. And they're saying, like, the bad thing would be caused by the ghost of Reverie Cross. And then Will ends up meeting Emery's grandmother, and we find out that her family is actually French. And Will starts speaking to her grandmother in French.
Because he's smart.
Yeah, because he's smart. People don't think he is, but he is. And then later on, Emery, like, tells Will, I want to let this happen. Part of me really does. Will, you know why? Because as soon as it was over, I know I'll never have to hear from you again. And then Will just says, why are you so mean? He tries to run, he tries to leave, but then she ends up trying not to let him leave. And he's like, I like you. I've liked you forever. If you talk to him, the spell will break and the night will be over because you're not the same in the sun. Because her brother was trying to call her. She ends up answering the phone. And Will leaves. And then after he leaves, she sees this, like, something is hanging from the tree outside her window. So then the next day, Emery is, like, staring at what was hanging out her window. So it turns out it was this, like, key hanging from the tree, and she's trying to figure out who left it there. And she knows it wasn't Will because she'd seen a car outside, and Will drives a truck, and he was already gone. She ends up going to the church in town because she recognizes the symbols on it, and it has something to do with one of the towers there. So she ends up climbing some stairs when she gets there, and up into the towers, and then she finally finds the room that the key unlocks, and there's a bed, some trunks, and all this other stuff. But on the bed, there's a note that reads, "It's yours now. Use it well. No one else knows. Do not tell. When you're done, pass it on. The Carfax room hides us from what we want gone." So it's this like secret, hidden room, and then
It's just like for people, like it's like passed on from like people that like are like in need. Like you pass it on, like when you're done with it, when you find someone else that you think could use their own little escape, get away from whatever the shit's going on in their life or their head or whatever.
Yeah. We end up finding out later who she got it from, but not until future. Past Emery never knew. In one of the trunks she ends up finding this like pink strapless dress with tulle on the bottom, and it looks like it came from the 50s. Just a little weird. After she left the church, her brother ends up finding her. He takes her to the cemetery. She finds out that he was planning on using the Edward McCallahan's soon to be empty grave for their grandmother when she dies, and she goes, "What the fuck, she's not even dead yet." They end up getting into a fight. He beats the shit out of her and finally, like for the first time, hits her face. So she's got blood all over her face. She's getting like a black eye, bruises everywhere. She ends up running off, escaping him, goes back to the little room, puts on the dress, and decides that she's going to go to the homecoming dance after all. It's like a Halloween dance too, so she doesn't bother covering up the bruises, and she's decided that she's going to this dance as Reverie Cross.
Kind of psycho, to be honest.
It's really psycho. And then Will teaches Emery how to dance while they're there. And then she ends up asking, "Have you decided what your Devil's Night prank tomorrow? Like what it will be?" And he goes, "I have ideas." And she says, "I have one too." And then she takes him with her to Edward McCallahan's grave, and they end up like vandalizing the not tomb. Is it tomb?
Headstone?
Not his headstone. They vandalized where they were going to move him to.
His crypt?
Thank you. So they end up vandalizing the crypt and stuff, so like people are like scared to move his body. And then security almost catches them, but they make it out. And then Will takes her to the cove, which is still open, and they end up riding rides and eating candy. And Emery asks him, "Have you ever heard of the Carfax room?" Will knows everything, I swear to God, because he's about to tell her some actual information.
Yes, because of his grandfather.
Yes, his grandfather knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Anyway, so she asks, "Have you ever heard of the Carfax room?" And he says, "Sure, it's like Edward McCallahan and Black Church and Evernight, another Thunder Bay urban legend." Then Emery asks, "What's Black Church?" "A house, supposedly. No one knows where it is, if it's even real, but stories around of rich young men who can't behave being ferried away there to be hidden." Emery asks, "Hidden?" "Well, we can't be arrested. It looks bad for the family, you know? So moms and dads will send you to Black Church if you become too uncontrollable. You just disappear overnight. Legend has it it's remote, secluded, and wild. And you get sent there forever until we learn to behave. But for some, it has the opposite effect. They go feral. So yes, they would stay there forever. But the Carfax room, I can see that being true." And Emery asks, "What is it?" And he says, "It's a fabled hidden room somewhere in town, which is entirely possible since the town has lots of hiding places. It's like a panic room from what I understand. It's passed from one person to the next, each occupant searching for the next who is in need of such place. There are no limits on how long you can have it, just pay it forward when you're done," or something like that. So that's like the legend of the Carfax room.
The lore.
The lore, yeah. But also of Black Church. Which
Black Church is very important.
very important. Then later on, they ended up having sex for the first time in a school bus because they couldn't get to his truck because her brother was blocking said truck. So they had sex in the school bus. And Will says, "You'll be mine. You can ignore me. You can run. You can leave. You can hide. But you're going to be fucking mine someday. Come hell or high water, Emery Scott. You're my woman, and you're going to come home to me every day and sit at my table and warm my fucking bed. And you're going to give me a Will Greyson IV. Mark my words." Yeah.
I feel like I'd be a little bit terrified. I would have ran.
Right? She does. She leaves it. She's like,
She's
this
like,
is
"Get
the
that's a
last
little bit
time we
much,
can
bro.
ever
We
be
just had
together."
sex. Relax.
Yeah, she's
Calm
like,
down."
this is the in her head. She's like, yeah, this can never happen again. But in Will's head, he's planning their entire future. After the cove, he ends up tucking her into bed that night, and while he's doing so, he notices that the bruises on her back aren't makeup, and that every bruise on her body had been real. So obviously she's asleep. He's not going to wake her up. So the next day, he ends up cornering her.
He must have thought she was really fucking good at makeup or something, because, like...
He did. He was really confused. But then when he saw her back, he's like, "Kay, how the hell did she get makeup back
And then he tried
there?"
rubbing him off. He goes, they're not coming
And she
off.
starts whimpering in pain in her sleep.
Mhm.
And he's like, "What the fuck?" But he's like, "Kay, I'm not going to wake her up. She's actually sleeping peacefully for once. I'll corner her at school tomorrow and ask her." So he ends up cornering her at school the next day, which is Devil's Night. And he's like, "Who's doing that to your body? You have bruises everywhere. Is it your brother? Do you know that you can have anything you want? I'd hurt anyone for you. Who the hell is it?" And then Emery tells him, "Let me go. Go have fun with your friends. They're all you really have, so hang on to them. I don't love you and I don't want you. Leave me alone. You're pushing me away." And then she's like, "We're just too different. You thought this was serious. You've been on half the girls in the graduating class. If I knew that you thought last night was something more, I never would have come to homecoming." And then he says, "Stop it. You hear me? Last night was it for me. I don't want anyone else but you." And then she ends up ripping his heart out. And he says, "You know how easy you are to replace? Is that what you want then? Because it would be that easy." And she says, "Get on with it then, and rot in hell for all I care." And then she walks away from him. She goes home later that night. Her grandmother is being loaded into an ambulance. Shriptic won't let her follow her grandmother, and him and her end up getting into a fight again. He almost kills her this time, but she fights back for once and like full blown like tries
Fucking
to beat the shit out of
finally.
him too. Takes off running into the woods and runs all the way until she makes it to the cemetery of all places. I think in her head she thought that Will might be there because she knew they were partying there earlier, but at this point they'd already gone to the Pope. Like, Will was not at the cemetery. Because she's at the cemetery, and all of a sudden this person pulls up in this car and she sees them taking a body out of their trunk, and she goes, "What the fuck is going on? What is happening?" And then she realizes that it's Damon, and then Damon sees her, and they're kind of just like looking at each other like, the fuck do we do now? And then she ends up learning that the woman on the ground is his mother, and like kind of some of the things she'd done to him. So she ends up helping him bury the body because she wishes she was doing the same thing to her brother.
Yeah, wow.
She's actually the one who pushes her into the grave too. She's like, bitch.
She finds out that he's been abused by his mom or something,
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna help you," and then
She literally pushes that body into the grave.
Yeah.
And then helps him like cover it up. And then like they end up driving to the school because they need to cover it up, and Damon asks if she told Will that it was her brother, and she says no. And he goes, "Because he's the one pure beautiful thing, untainted by ugliness, and we love him for it." And then Damon goes into like a whole spiel about all the things his mom ever did to him. And then Damon's like crying in the car, and he's like, "I didn't love her. I don't know why it hurts. I didn't love her." And Emery says, "You did. You learned how to love from her. This is what it looked like." So they finally get to the school, and they're in the school, and Damon like threatens Emery, and he's like, "If you ever tell anyone, I promise I'll do the same thing to you." And she's like, "I'm not gonna tell anybody. Calm down." And he says, "Maybe I'll return the favor someday when you're ready to deal with him." And then Emery says, "I'm a loose end. Why didn't you kill me when you saw me there tonight?" And Damon says, "Why didn't you run when you saw me?" And then she says, "There's a tear in my membrane today. I don't know what's wrong with me. I wanted to see you throw her away." And then Damon says, "I have a sister. Her name is Nick, but everyone calls her Banks. If something happens and I can't be there for her, if they arrest me for this, you need to go to my house and help her. She doesn't have anyone else. You understand?" And Emery's like confused, like, "Why are you asking me of all people?" And he goes, "I'm not sure anyone else would have helped me bury a body. Not even his friends."
Oh fuck, yeah, they would have.
Yeah, But like I feel like Damon always felt like that though. Will's
He
thing
always
was that he
felt-
felt useless. Damon's thing is that he felt like no one actually cared about him.
Mhm.
And then Will ends up walking in while they're in the locker room. They're freshly showered, so you can tell that they were just naked at the same time. And he starts yelling at them because he's piss fucking drunk and thinks that they've been fucking. And somehow this fight turns into him and Damon jacking each other off. So, I don't. Well, Emery watches.
That was my favorite part.
Of course it was. So the next day, Emery looks upset in the cafeteria, and Will dances on a table to My Prerogative. I know we've talked about it before, but I just had to say that because it's the best part ever. Anyway, okay. Then the fire alarm is set off, and we find out Emery is the one who pointed out that Winter was missing. So, thanks, Emery. Kind of. Not really. They were having a good talk in the closet. Damon and Winter. Anyway, and then, and that was the last time that Will even looked at Emery, like in the past. And then it jumps 2 years after that. Will's still in love with Emery despite everything. Sees her brother, finds out her brother is the one that was abusing her, beats the shit out of her brother without his mask on, with Kai's help, without his mask on, while Damon films it, and that's what they end up getting arrested for months later. Then it skips to Emery, who, it's Halloween morning, she's at college, and she ends up seeing all the videos that have been posted. She rushes home to like go help Will, see if she can do anything. But when she gets there, her brother threatens her and shows her photos of her with bruises and everything, and ends up like forcing her to write a false statement that it was Will and the Horseman that did it to her. And then she never actually gets to talk to Will. And that's that. That's the past.
Now we're in present time, and the book actually starts off in Emery's point of view, and she's waking up in a house that she doesn't recognize without knowing how she got there or why she got there. She's like, what the fuck? Where am I? What's going on? There's someone else in the room, and they introduce themselves as Taylor Dinescu. He is from a really big and really wealthy petroleum family, and he tells her that they are in Black Church, but they don't know where in the world they are, and that normally they're locked in their rooms and cleaners and staff comes in, and no girls are allowed there around boys. But she's here, so he's kind of confused, but then he's also like, creeping her the fuck out. They aren't allowed to have women, communication with the world, no drugs, liquor, smokes, or anything like that. Do you think that there's a Black Church for women, or do these families just assume that the women aren't a threat?
That's a really good question.
I think that the families with badass women support them and would never send anyone to Black Church, period.
Facts.
And the men that would go to Black Church have shitty doormat wives. So no, there would be no need for a Black Church for women. Unfortunately, that's kind of how it is. So the rest of the Taylor tells her that the rest of the boys are out hunting. So Will comes back, and because they have to like hunt for their meat, they just get dropped off like fresh fruit and vegetables and milk and bread and shit. But they have to go hunt for their meat, like fucking savages.
Literal animals.
And they say they hate each other, wish they never met each other, blah 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 blah. And then she is taken to meet Aiden, who is like the de facto leader of Black Church. She also meets Micah Moreau, who is the son of a career criminal, and Rory Gearden. His mother is an ambassador to Japan, and his family is one of the biggest real estate developers on the East Coast. Then Aiden Kadir shows up. Aiden's family owns like Vietnam sweatshops and like a bunch of other shit, and his dad's also a senator. The entire time at Black Church, she's like trying to find her way out, trying to run away. They catch her. She can't go anywhere. She's gonna die, blah, 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 blah. And her and Will like don't get along, but Aiden takes a liking to her. Like in his own way, because Aiden's also kind of crazy. He he just like tells her to stand up for herself and like all this stuff. And we also find out that Micah and Rory are dating, and they also get along with Emery, and Taylor's just batshit insane. So why they were sent to Black Church? Aiden, because he was constantly getting into fights, and in the last one he almost killed someone. Taylor, his dad's a dick and couldn't control him, so he sent him there so he doesn't have to deal with him. But we also learned that Taylor likes to take weekend road trips to college campuses, set fires in dorms and sorority houses, and then molest the girls as they try to escape. Bat shit crazy. Rory actually killed 3 girls and 4 men because those people broke into his house and beat up his sister who has cerebral palsy.
So fucked.
And we don't really find out why Micah was there. I'm just assuming he just went against his mob boss dad. In my mind, Rory did nothing wrong. Those people deserve to die.
Yeah.
So Aiden also tells Emery about this girl that he knew that ended up becoming a sex worker, Alex, and that he like still wants her. We also find out that like Emery is an architect who specializes in like restoration and stuff. So they're there for like 3 days at this point, like not very long. A lot of shit happens, but not for very long. And Emery's in bed in her room because this is like a mansion, like a massive, beautiful mansion in the middle of fucking nowhere. And so she has her own room, and she's in bed, and then all of a sudden, Alex is right there. She opens her eyes, and Alex is standing above her.
Oh, Alex.
And Emery's like, Alex? And she's like, yeah, shut up. Like, just be quiet. You can't, like, tell anyone why I'm here. So, her and Emery actually seem to know each other, but we don't know why yet. Alex tells her that they're on an island in Canada, and she actually came there the same day Emery did, but she was awake and was hidden in the walls the entire time, so she has maps, blueprints, satellite phone, food, clothes, like all these things. And Emery literally came in the dress pants and dress shirt that she was in and nothing else. So Alex is there for a bit, and she goes and confronts Will. Is like, we're getting the fuck out of here, blah, blah, blah. I've called the other horsemen and everything. They're on their way. Well, while they're in one of the rooms, they're in an argument. Emery and Alex get in a fight, and Emery pushes Alex down. She looks down, and there is feet right in front of her, and she looks up, and it's fucking Aiden. And so Aiden's like, Alex? And she's like, Aiden? So obviously they know each other, but nobody knows why. The girls and the boys like don't get along until Emery fixes a chandelier and they all bond a bit. They all like dance and stuff. I don't know. Aiden ties up Will because he just pissed him off or something. I don't fucking know what happened. And he admits that he was the one that got Emery sent to Black Church because he was following Will and Alex and basically stalked them because he was obsessed with Alex. So before Aiden got to Black Church, he was stalking Alex, saw him and Will together. When he got back to Black Church, he has inside men, he gets alcohol, he gets shit like that. So he brought Emery there. I don't know how you could just order a woman to be dropped off, but whatever. During this whole kerfuffle, the house is on fire, and Will gets out of his ropes, and he finally stands up to Aiden. This entire time, he's been losing every fight at Black Church on purpose because he had a plan to get everyone on his side and gain everybody's respect to become a leader, but he didn't want to do it through force and violence and everything like that. He just wanted people's respect. This entire time he like let Aiden assume that he was the one controlling everything because he wanted Aiden's loyalty because he saw that he could be like one of them, like one of like the horsemen. But that changed because Aiden was working behind his back the entire time because he hated him for being with Alex. Will has a plan to escape, but he doesn't want to take Taylor, so they also tie him up. And he takes Rory, Micah, and Alex and Emery to escape. The house is now fully engulfed in flames and they're trying to get out. And then Kai, Michael, Rika, and Damon show up, save them all, get them out of the house. And they run through the trees and see a train. And they get into the train and Misha, Ryan, Winter, and Banks are there. And like literally Will's like, where the fuck did they get this train from? But whatever.
That's what I was wondering too.
In Corrupt or something, or maybe it was even in Hideaway, Rika made a joke saying like, we're gonna go buy a train. Anyways, while they're on the train, Will's getting mad at Emery, and he said, after everything you've done to us, you hesitated. Damon's like, why did you say us? And then Will says that Emery is the reason why they all went to jail. Now everyone is fucking pissed at Emery. But she goes to the boys, and they're like calling her weak and untrustworthy, but then Damon stands up for her. Obviously, she helped him kill a fucking body and hasn't said anything. She can be trustworthy. Then the boys agree to like give her time to make it up for them and to prove that she can be trustworthy, because they just are assuming that her and Will are going to be together, which obviously. And then that night, Emery is walking through the train, and she hears Winter and Damon fucking. So she moves on and finds Rika and Michael, Kai and Banks, and Alex in the bar. And she's just like kind of like watching them all talking and everything, and kind of like doesn't really know where her place is and whatever. And then Will walks up behind her. And so then they go inside, and Emery says like, we need to go back to Black Church and get Aiden and Taylor. She's like, Taylor can go fuck himself, but Aiden can be useful. Like, we can't leave any like loose ends. And then Alex tells a story where Aiden was at the pool party from Corrupt, and how they met over Skype with her roommate who he was dating. But he never chose Alex. So at the pool party, she was mad and fooled around with Will in the pool to make Aiden jealous. Emery and Alex argue, and Alex says that she wants her clothes back. So then she starts taking them off Emery. And then the train stops because they were going too fast, and then whatever. All the lights go off, and then things get a little bit more heated. So then Emery and Alex hook up, and then Banks and Kai hook up while watching them hook up, and Michael and Rika hook up while watching Emery and Alex as well. And Will is just standing there. And then when they get back to Thunder Bay, they get off the train, and Damon punches Will, Kai, and Michael across the face because he walked into what happened at the bar. He literally says, he goes, next time I don't want to walk in to my sister's having some fucking orgy. And then he walks away. And they're like, sorry. And then Kai's like, fuck, I forget that they're sisters all the time. Back in Thunder Bay, Will gave Rory and Micah the apartment above his parents' movie theater and a car and money. You know, here you go. Here's everything you need to live, because they have so much of it. He gets everyone together minus Winter because she's pregnant again, and takes them to the Coldfield warehouse. We find out that Will owns Coldfield. Coldfield, if you remember from Kill Switch, is the scary haunted house playground thing. Whatever. But then he goes down the stairs, and they go downstairs and find tunnels, a track, and carts. The tunnels go under Whitehall and Delcourt in Meridian City, as well as all over Thunder Bay. So they're just all underground tunnels. Like, everyone gets in carts and they ride to the cove. And they set fire to the entire thing so they can build a resort. While it's burning down, they see a little girl running around, and Michael chases after her. He catches her, but then she bites him, and he lets go of her, and she runs away. Find out that she was homeless and living in the cove like Misha, but like she's not even 8 years old. Poor girl. And the cops show up, and Will gives himself over because he says that he has people he wants to see, meaning Emery's dighead of a brother. Ugh. So Micah goes and wakes up Emery and is like, Will's been arrested, blah, 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 blah. They go outside, and Damon's there, and Damon's like, she's not coming. And Emery's like, no, actually, I'm driving. Takes the keys, takes the car, and drives her, Damon, Micah, and Rory to the police station. Damon tells them to go and hotwire cars. Then he calls Rika to send all the units after them. So then when all the police officers leave, Emery walks in pretending to be there for her brother. She goes back pretending to go to her brother's desk to leave him a note or whatever, but then steals the keys to the cell and gets Will out. They start, so they like run back to the car, whatever. They start arguing in the back, but then they start fucking. But Damon is still driving this car, and he goes, "Okay, well, I'd love to watch this actually, but Winter will consider it cheating if she's not here too. So I'll just go ahead and walk home. You fucking owe me, Will." And he just gets out of the car. And then Emery's like, "Yeah, I'm actually going to go too." And so she gets out of the car too. They argue some more. He admits that he loves her, but he will let her go. And then she blurts out, "Will you marry me? So let's just fight. I love you, but no, I don't." And blah, blah, blah. Yeah, now let's just get married. And then he says yes.
Like, it's just happily ever after.
And then he just whips out the family ring that he's had for the last 10 years and puts it on her finger. And then they go to the Carfax room and fuck, obviously. And then in the morning, they're woken up by a call from Rika asking Emery to meet her. So then Emery goes and meets Rika, Alex, Winter, and Banks at this bridal shop, whatever. They all say congratulations to her. So I don't know how or when Will sent out a mass text within the 8 hours before, but I guess he
made it
did.
known.
This man's been waiting for this for years. He probably had it geared ready to go and he just had to hit send. Like, he was probably so excited. He probably said, "Finally, she's proposed! We're getting together!"
Yeah. So Rika's trying on her wedding dress. It's red, by the way. And tells the girls to pick out dresses as well. And they're all kind of just assuming, oh, like, they're bridesmaid dresses. Like, whatever. Rika ends up taking the girls away for 36 hours, and Will is pissed. He's like, "I just fucking got her." Rika takes her for over a day. This is bullshit. And he's just complaining to the guys as they're trying to get ready for Micah and Rika's wedding. But whatever. They walk into town. Yes, they walk. Literally with bottles of whatever the fuck, walking in their tuxes to the town center.
I love it.
Like, okay. Hood rat shit.
Yep.
Basically, their wedding is like just a huge party in the middle of town square. They just have food trucks and music playing and everything. The ceremony is in the park with the gazebo. So it's actually a new gazebo there. It was put up when Will was in Black Church. Emery hasn't seen it, so they're like, "Who the fuck built this gazebo?" Well, I'm just gonna spoil it for you. It was Damon. Anyways. The boys are standing there, and Rika walks up, and Will's like, "Where's the other girls?" And Rika's like, "Oh, they're right there." They're also standing there like they're about to walk down the aisle. And Rika looks at Michael, and she's like, "Is this okay?" And he just goes, "I love you." And then, so obviously that means yes. So that they're all now getting married at the same time. They just hijacked it. Okay. The wedding starts, and the girls have bands with the skull emblem on it that matches the necklaces that they got in Conclave. Will obviously doesn't recognize it, but I'm assuming he'll figure it out. And their vows are really cute, so they're really like specific to each couple. And the officiant goes, "Michael and Erica, do you promise no matter what you do, you'll do as one?" Obviously they say yes. Damon and Winter, do you promise to give your very best to each other? Yes, as well. Kai and Nikova, do you promise that the other will never be alone? Obviously. And William and Emery, do you promise to believe in each other and stand together? So, like, they're just, like, very specific to each couple and, like, what their issues are. Basically. So, as soon as they all kiss, there's an explosion near the cove. Perfect timing, of course.
Mm-hmm.
They also see the little girl from the cove again, and Michael actually gets to catch her this time. Well, no, it's Will actually catches her, but then Michael takes her, but whatever. And they say sorry for the fire that, like, we burnt down your house. And she's like, "Well, 2 men came up the tunnels before they got there." They figure out that it's Aiden and Taylor, and then the girl runs away again. They figured out that Aiden and Taylor had been in Thunder Bay for 2 days and are now making themselves known. So, Misha, Ryan, Will, Emery, Banks, Kai, Rika, Michael, Rory, Micah, David, Lev, Damon, and Winter show up to Coldfield. Everybody.
Jesus.
Oh, Alex is also there.
Some gang shit.
And they're all they show up to Coldfield, and while they're standing there, they all have masks. The girls now have matching masks. You know, it's a whole thing. And people start showing up in Black Devil's masks, so they can't be identified. They split up, and Micah, Rika, Alex, and Emery are getting away when Taylor finds them. He attacks Alex, and Emery kicks him in the balls, and Alex kicks him in the face, and they run away. But they get away from him quickly, and Emery sees her brother and freezes, but he doesn't like make a move to like talk to her or anything. He's just staring at her. And the little girl is back, and she gets Emery to continue to run, and she shows them secret passageways, ones that even like Will didn't know about. They make their way to the cove, and when they get there, they're blocked by Martin, Michael's dad, Evans, and all of their men. Bullshit. And Aiden's there as well. Taylor is not there. Michael faces off with his dad, and that's when Rika's mom and Michael's mom show up. And Rika's mom slaps Michael's dad across the face because he admits that he had killed Schrader Fane, her husband. And the boys pull her off of him, and it was like a really cute moment. Actually, she was like crying and everything, and Damon like lifts her chin up, and he's like, "You're my mother, for Christ's sake, like chin up, like be proud of who you are." And whatever. And then Will's grandfather then comes up and stands between Martin and Michael's dad, and everyone thinks that he is on their side. But then he admits that he was the one to put Will in Black Church, and then everyone is pissed at him because they're like, why the fuck would you do that? And then Will said that he had asked his grandfather to send him there. So Senator Greyson then turns to the men Michael's dad and Martin brought and tells them to go home when they do. So then Michael's dad and Martin are pissed because he's not on their side like they thought he was. He was just actually getting intel for Will. Will then finds out that Evans Christ was behind them going to jail, and how Emery was a part of them going to jail, and how everything happened. So he played the long game, went to Black Church to recruit people to help them bring them down, and his grandfather knew the entire time what his plan was. But Will was doing this behind everyone's back because he thought he might fail, and he didn't want them to be like disappointed in him, so he just kind of wanted to do it like himself. He also knew that he needed to go there and sober up, so he did. Evans Christ goes, he's like, well, I still have Aiden and Taylor on my side. And then Aiden's like, I'm not with you. I don't listen to anybody. And then Michael grabs his dad and punches him in the face and sends him away. And Senator Greyson he's like, I got this. And he takes him away. They're sending him to Black Church. Then all hell breaks loose. And everyone runs because Winter hears someone remove the safety off of a gun. All hell breaks loose and everyone runs, but Aiden and Will are fighting, and then Martin shoots Alex in the chest, which causes them to stop, and Aiden goes to help her, and he's like, come on, like, just look at me, blah, 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 whatever. But then Kai rips Alex out of his arms, and they go into the ambulance, and they get her to the hospital. Martin tries to leave, but then Damon blocks him in. Will has his back to the ocean, so basically there's Will with his back to the ocean, Martin's in front of him, and Damon's blocking him, so he can't go anywhere. So Martin then charges at Will, throwing them over the cliff, and they land in the water. This entire time, remember, Will has a problem with water. He's like breaking out, and he's like having like a total break, basically. They like fight in the water, and the only way that like Will can get out of it is by snapping his neck, so he does, and Will makes it to the edge, and he sees that there's a rope over the cliff, and he goes, what the fuck, like, when did this happen? And he pulls himself up, and Michael and Aiden help him get over the edge, and the little girl is there, and she says that it was her rope over the edge because she likes going in the cave. So this little girl is like their lifesavers, to be honest. I don't know. She's
Thank
like,
God for her.
Yeah. So when Will gets up, he's like, where the fuck is Emery? And he realizes that Taylor has her. Oh, fucking course. It's just a shit show after shit show. men from Micah's family, remember career criminal family? Yeah. His family's there and they show up and he's like, okay, well, I need you to block the car and get Emery back. So they go and block the car in. He punches Taylor in the face. I don't really know exactly what they did to Taylor to get him to Black Church, but they sent him to Black Church. He gets Emery out. They go to the hospital where Alex is and Aiden shows up because obviously he's obsessed with her. They try to send him to leave, but he refuses. He's like, I'll marry Alex. Like, if you guys want me to prove my loyalty, I'll fucking marry her. Even though they have not even kissed yet, by the way. Like, it's ridiculous. And the boys agree to let him stay to see what she says, and then obviously she's like, yeah, let him in. Well, she doesn't say it like that. She's fucking high off of all the drugs, and she's like, he's so dreamy. Yeah, I want to see him. Whatever. And she's like, you guys go finish your wedding because it was never done. So they're not technically married, but they wanted to get married on Devil's Night. So they go and wake up the judge. The judge is in his pajamas and finish their wedding. Senator Greyson is at the house, and him and Emery have a heart-to-heart. And he's like, oh, you can just call me AP. And this makes Emery remember the Reverie Cross and Edward McCallahan story and how her boyfriend was named AP. So the reason for him saying call me AP is because his full name is William Aaron Payne Greyson, and people would call him AP. So he was the boyfriend. And so this is the epilogue. A few months go by, and Will and Emery bought Rika's old house. Well, their company bought Rika's old house. So, but yeah. And they're babysitting Madden and Iverson when Emery finds out she's pregnant, but she doesn't tell Will yet. They go to the hospital. Aiden and Alex are married, engaged. She has a ring, so we're just assuming. And Michael and Rika adopted that girl. They named her Athos. And Winter's currently having her second child. And that's when they hear Damon go, what? It's a boy? Are you sure? Ugh, what am I going to do with you? And then Emery tells Will she's pregnant.
The babies are coming!
Yeah, and that's how Nightfall ends. But yeah.
Yeah. Also, can we talk about the fucking weird names? Like Everson?
Well, yeah. I think it's
and Aiden?
Yeah.
Like, I do audiobooks and read, so that's the reason I knew this, and it's weird.
Yeah.
I wonder what other people think about this.
Yeah.
Or if they even realize that it's not pronounced like that.
Even listening to it, I change it in my head. It's Iverson and Aiden, and yeah.
What was your guys' favorite part?
The train.
Yeah, me too.
Damon freaking out that he has another boy because he wants a girl so bad.
I love the part about Damon freaking out about the boy too.
Yeah.
It's so funny. But also, my prerogative. I don't know why there's just something about Will Greyson dancing on a table that gets me every fucking time. But also how delusional Will was this entire book. Like, you're mine. Like, we're together in my head.
I also think it was my favorite part is finding out the whole his grandfather is AP.
That whole thing. Like, what the hell were you doing?
I need to know.
Senator Greyson?
I need to know, but she won't write
I want
it.
back in time story of Senator Greyson. Someone tell me what happened.
Yeah, well, especially if they're calling Edward McCallahan the first horseman. No, I think that was Senator Greyson.
He kind of hints at that, though, that they were the original horsemen and he gave the name to Will.
Yeah. Anyways, that was Nightfall. I loved Nightfall.
Me too.
I think it was a perfect ending.
I forgot. One of my other favorite parts was the underground tunnels. So cool.
I love the tunnels,
As creepy
too.
as they are, it was so cool.
Oh, the best was when they were on the carts and Damon yells, "We need helmets!" And Will's like, "Don't be a pussy." And he goes, "Not for me, for the kids. They're gonna love this."
It's so cute.
He's such a good dad.
I know, but he wants to be a girl dad so badly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Usually,
So,
in these books,
Poor Winter's vagina.
Yeah. Usually, in these kinds of books, I just read one and it was like they end up with a girl and she's like, oh, he's worried about the girl because in their heads they're like fragile. With the boys it's like strong, whatever. And Damon's hated women this entire time until like towards the end. But no, he wants a girl because he thinks that they're better than boys. We swapped places here, Damon.
I think he was just resentful because of the shit that happened with his non-mom.
With the person he grew up thinking is his mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then he sees how strong Rika is. He sees how strong Winter is. Sees how strong Banks is. Had a kinship with Emery.
Yeah.
So I think
Damon's the closest to all the girls.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think he hates women. I don't necessarily even think he always hated women. He was just resentful, and the way that his dad talked about them, thought they were good for nothing but sex and like arm candy, basically. So, yeah, I think he just wants to live in a world with badass women. I mean, like, any smart man would.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Anyways,
that was Nightfall.
This Saturday we are going to be posting just a little bonus episode of Fire Night. It is just a final novella. How many years later? Like 10?
A little less than 10 because I think Madden's 11 in the novella and he was only like
3 in this.
He would have been 2 or 3 because he's a year older than Iverson. No, yeah, because Iverson was freshly 1 in Conclave, and this is only supposed to be like a month after Conclave, so Madden would be 2. So this is like 9 years later.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That was Nightfall, guys.
Bye,
guys.